got moved.
Oh, that's okay. Uh, so we'll just wait just a minute for people to get in.
All right.
I always like to wait a minute if we can, if we're not too pressed for time. Were you gonna stream later?
I'm not entirely certain. I was generally that's I do, but I suppose we'll have to play it by ear.
Okay.
See how I'm feeling.
Well, no worries either way.
I should put your link in the Discord on my end, so people don't have to like look, like try to find you. Like, how many Yannis can there possibly be? There we
That's-
go. There we go.
Okay. It's always weird because I swear, you open up your users in chat, it's like 30 people, and it's like bot, 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 bot,
Yeah.
bot, bot, bot. um, oh, hang on, let me.
Oh, my whole desk got moved around. I was wondering what was off. Okay.
Oh, okay. So, as always, for people coming in, there'll be a little timer, exclamation point podcast. Actually, let's see if that works real quick. Yep,
Oh,
okay.
you know what? I wonder if they have oh, they don't. I wish they had like a green screen chroma key option in Discord. So that if you have a green screen, you could just
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Well, I did a podcast with somebody named Agua, and
Agua. Yeah,
oh, you know him?
I know Agua.
Yeah, yeah, okay, okay. Um, and he did a green screen and had a bunch of otters in the background.
Oh yeah, I saw the upload.
Yeah, so
Yeah, was that on his stream or was that in the Discord itself?
um, well, we did the call through. Well, actually, you know what? That's a good question. I can't remember. I cannot remember if we did it through. If we did it through.
Yeah, because I didn't see the beginning if you'd like switched over to his stream or how that worked. I just feel bad because now everyone's gonna see my lovely
No,
setup.
no, it's okay. It's okay.
Just
No.
full view of my bed. Hold on, let's
Dude,
take
no, it's fine. Look, I've got, this has been going on for like a year, okay? This bed has
us.
never. The funny thing is, the bed gets made all the time. It's just, well, I usually like wake up, stretch, and stream, and so you don't see it when it's made. My
Right.
expression of frustration with the mitts.
Yeah, I
Um,
can.
but all right, we already got somebody mispronouncing your name. Fail, sand, luck.
I get.
Okay.
I get that one a lot. Fails, sand, luck. They're like, "Where's the sand?" I go, "I'm not
So,
the sand man." Some people. Some people. Some people try to do it in all in one go. Just fails and luck. Fails sand luck. Just
you're like, no, 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 no. So, okay, so while I sit here with my jug of water, you've got
mhm.
you've got your. Aren't those things a godsend? Is that one of the ones with the little ball in it or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah,
It's got a whisk ball on it, so
yeah.
I can just. I have made root beer floats with this. You just gotta shake super hard. It's good.
Uh, can you tell Fails to yell really loudly? He's quieter than you. Okay, let me. Oh, let me.
It's a pleasure to be
Oh
here.
my God, that's good.
I'm
Yeah,
just in a storm.
here, here. Don't worry,
Um,
don't worry. I got you. I got you.
you got it. Okay, I will. Great opportunity for me to charge my mouse after like 2 weeks.
Is that better? Okay. All right.
Am I louder now?
Yes. Okay.
I actually have a lot of volume control on my end as well, so if need be, um, lots of settings and buttons to push.
Okay. No worries. All right. So I think we'll go ahead and get started. So,
Okay.
as always, everybody, welcome to the next episode of the now appropriately named Yanni After Dark podcast because we actually are having, you know, one that's actually in the evening after dark. So it's been a while. Normally they've been at like 4 p.m. or something. So welcome as always. And here today we have another amazing guest, Fails and Luck. And I think that, as I've said before in the past, these interviews in particular are always really uh, awesome experiences for me. Of course, every single time that I get to interview a guest, it's an awesome experience to get to learn about somebody new, to get to hear somebody's unique story, what drives them, what brings them to content creation. Those are always awesome experiences. But in particular, is when I get to bring on somebody that, I am friends with outside of the podcast or outside of, um, just in particular content creation. Because you don't normally get to transition in natural conversation to, so how did you get your name? It's not a natural part of conversation. So I get to learn something new about friends. And it's always, again, a wonderful addition to an already great experience. So, with that being said, as I always say, nobody can introduce themselves better than the guest. So, I will let Fails take it over for a minute and introduce himself.
Thank you, Yanni. Okay, let's see if I can put some words together here. Okay, well, I'm Fails. And Luck. I'm a musician. I'm a gamer. Um, and you know what? I find that life for me is either super lucky or not. So that oh, and I'm at least there's at least like 5% idiot in there. But sometimes, like on a good day, that's me in general. Okay, so that was bad, but
You're fine. No,
I look. I didn't write anything out.
no,
I
you're
have
fine.
nothing.
You're fine. You're fine. No, 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 no. It's way better when it's, believe it or not. You might not believe me, but by the end of the interview, I hope to persuade you. It's better when it's from the hip, as they say, shoot from the hip, than to have something written and pinned out. You know, and look on the bright side. If you know, presidential speeches are any indication, writing stuff out doesn't help. Um, so, anyways, um, so I have to ask, where did the name Fails and Luck come from?
Right. So, what's really funny is that when I first came up with the name, it didn't make any sense. It had no goddamn meaning at all. But now as time goes on, it really has. I've kind of I don't know, developed in my own name, I guess. So originally my name uh when I first had to come up with a username on in like video games, it was Nolan, which is my name, right?
Mm-hmm.
And or No No. And No No was my nickname because my younger cousin couldn't say my name, so she called me No No. So it became like a family name, which thank God is no longer the case. Like people forgot about it. Um, but when I was switching over, I think to PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, whatever, and I was still back on console. I was trying to like rebrand myself. I'm like, you know what? This name sucks. I should find I should find something different. And so, I was completely under the impression that anytime like I got killed in a game or something, it was unlucky, just just unlucky. Or if someone else got the kill, it was luck. There was no skill, there was no existence. It was just it is or it is not. And so I came up with like this. I wanted something original. I think I've succeeded in that, and in the past few years, what I've realized is if there's something in a game that has like a 0.0000001% chance to happen or drop rate or whatever, I got it. I'm getting that. I'm getting that. But if you have the worst possible death that you could possibly get, the worst possible thing to happen to your account, that is also going to happen to me.
Okay. So, so what I like about that is I like the was it the duality of man is the the meme, but I like the idea that you know, the running meme that it's all bad luck, right? When something happens that, the stray Hanzo arrow that was clearly meant for the mercy and you get hit and you're like, that's
So unlucky.
yeah.
Exactly.
Um so transitioning from so you kind of got into it a little bit there. So what did you start out with as far as getting into gaming?
Um, when I was younger, I would only play like let's see. I can't remember what the first system I had was, but my uncle was a big gamer and he gave me like a Sega Genesis or something, and so one of the first games I played I think
Sega.
was like that old Sonic game. Um, you know the one. I can't
They're
remember the
all
name.
old now, buddy.
Uh, um, but when when I could actually like get my own games, or I guess when it wasn't that, I was playing like Sly Cooper. Um, I was really into superhero games. Like, well, of course there weren't that many, but there was enough. I always loved like Spider-Man. Spider-Man was I played probably every single Spider-Man game. Um, I didn't really get into shooters, or at least that into shooters, until like when the first Destiny like came out or was in beta.
I so first of all, I've said it before. I'll say it again. Spider-Man, definitely my favorite superhero. So, and I played a lot of them too. And honestly, I think that a lot of Spider-Man games, especially the new ones that have just come out with, I mean, of course, the first one had the new ones that came out had Peter Parker, but then it transitioned to Miles Morales.
Right.
Those were fantastic. Was it Spider-Man 2? I think that they really nailed down with
Yeah, that was
the
fun.
yeah with the uh, all since I think and I think I might have played it on GameCube. I seem to remember playing it on GameCube, but I think since they kind of nailed down that traveling mechanic, the web shooting, and the
Hmm.
the running from building to building, I think the games have been I used to get lost in them just jumping around the city. I didn't like actually fight crime. like, like
Not
somebody's
that fun, yeah.
somebody's getting robbed. I gotta go climb a skyscraper. Like, um, but I think that, and real quick with this is how I always remember. So Sonic 1, just Sonic. Sonic 2, Tails. Sonic 3, Knuckles. So that's how I always kind of remember it. But I think I've said before I started with Super Nintendo, but I remember that my brother had a Sega Genesis, so we always kind of had like the war of a the war of attrition, like Sega,
Right.
Nintendo. Um, so you talked about before you got into FPS shooter games. What
Yeah.
was the first one that you played that was an FPS?
First shooter, I mean, technically speaking, would have to be Halo because I can't remember where it was, but there was like some after school kids thing that I was in or whatever, however old I was, and that was like the game they had, and they had like a split screen, and I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. I was just, it's no, I got ricocheted killed a lot.
Did you?
Lost them.
I have to ask.
They were good.
Split screen. Did
Yeah.
you ever peek at the other person's screen?
At that point, I didn't know it was not okay. I didn't realize the
No,
power
I.
it gave me. I didn't understand. Okay, I didn't know.
The original cheating, the original wall hacks was to literally like look at the other person's screen.
Not that it did me that much good at that point, but
Fair enough.
um,
But you know what's so funny? People would always, they would always mock when people did that. Like, oh, so you were a cheater. Da, 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 da." You had to know where they were. And I remember,
map awareness.
yeah, and I remember in particular, like GoldenEye, if somebody was like hiding out in the restroom, like that didn't tell you anything. Like, what stall are they hiding out in? Because last thing you want to do is play a horror game and open up the wrong stall, and there's Odd Job, and he just takes you out at at the knees. But I think Halo. I think that's a great start because I think to this day Halo's still one of the best shooters of all time.
And they
Uh,
got that the new Royale coming out, so that should be interesting. Of course, again, I didn't have any experience in that game. It was only like a few minutes here and there while I was waiting for someone to pick me up, so it wasn't really like a big start for me or didn't really interest me. But
Now, when you went uh, from Halo, okay, was that kind of just you played it, didn't really get into FPS games more hardcore until way later, or was it you were
yeah,
hooked at that point?
oh yeah, I was definitely not at all hooked by
Okay,
Halo, I wasn't into shooters at all. There was also like another time when had played a shooter. I can't remember. I think it was Halo again, but it might have been like one of the first CODs or something. I can't remember. No, I was purely like a platformer superhero kind of game. If there was like an interesting Sly Cooper, I loved Sly Cooper. I had if a game gave you that kind of feeling of like freedom of due to its mechanics of like mobility or something like that, I always took an interest in that. And like I said, I didn't really genuinely get into FPS until I want to say one of the first Destiny games. Well, I don't know why I'm saying one of, but yeah, one of the first Destiny came out in beta. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And that's when I started getting into that stuff.
okay. Which, by the way, Sly Cooper, one of the best platformers of all time. So,
Absolutely.
you know, and there's a part of me that hopes they remake it. Um, but you know, there's also because the Spyro remake was actually pretty good. Um, then there's also the part of me that like always leery of remakes, right? Um,
Right.
but with that being said, so you mentioned Destiny. What was the draw in particular with Destiny?
Um. Well, I hadn't really played anything too sci-fi before, I guess,
Okay,
or space related. I thought the graphics were like the coolest thing ever. Um, it was also that this feeling of progression where you're just constantly getting stronger, more powerful, you're getting better loot, and that's what started drawing me into looter shooters. Like if there's
Borderlands.
progression in that way, yeah, Borderlands as well. Never did play the first one, but and my friends, all I could get all my friends to play it, and I hadn't had something like that where I could get my friends to play something, and it gave me that that classic feeling of I don't know friendship, I guess.
Uh,
And
okay.
even when they weren't on, I had something to do. I would wake up early before school and just try to get a little grind in, just a little one, you know.
Oh, now, when you say you were able to get your friends involved, were they more involved in like sports and stuff like that, or was this just they weren't involved in that type of game? They were involved in gaming, but
Yeah, they just weren't into the same games as I was, or I think more specifically, we just didn't all have consoles or the same
gotcha,
consoles at
gotcha.
the time.
Okay,
And then finally we did, and this is the first game that we played together.
okay. So going forward, when because you play, you would classify yourself as variety. I don't want to put word. I would, but don't want to put words in your mouth. So,
Say I would say yeah, more variety these days. It all depends on how I'm feeling on that day. I've tried to go with a schedule of one day of gaming, one day of music, and then something spontaneous throughout the week. But that might change.
okay.
But I would say variety. Yeah.
And I definitely want to come back to the music at some point because oh, you can't see it. I got my amp and my guitar back there. I was like, so obviously I
Yeah.
love music. Um, but kind of going back a little bit with you know gaming, we always kind of talk about what was the foundational point of getting people involved in it, and you talked about the Sega Genesis and all that. Did gaming become, as time went on, to become a bigger and bigger part of your life, or was it kind of always there from the beginning? Like because I'll speak from experience. The more I went into like homeschooling and stuff like that, the more it became a bigger part of my life. So I don't know if it was something the older you got, the more you wanted to grind away at video games, or
I'd say yeah. I like when I was taking lessons for guitar and I had stuff to do with that and practice that I wanted to do. It was little to none as far part of my life. It was, I hate to say it, but it was the act. It was every single time I did it, it was genuine fun, and because I wanted to do it, nothing else, right? Um, but as as time went on, and I couldn't afford guitar lessons anymore, it started becoming less of a hobby and more of a pure addiction, and it just kept going and going, and now it's most of what I do,
Okay.
and especially since yeah, even COVID just took that up another 10%. So,
Now, what is it? If there was one thing you had to give all of gaming, what is it that you enjoy most about it?
um, like anything, it's a skill that you can improve. Uh, in every genre, I feel like there's something you can always work on, and so you don't really get this stagnation. Um, as well as like if you get really good at it, even if it's just in a small niche, it's this fantasy of like, oh, people will come to see me because I can do this, and that's an interesting thought to have as well.
Well, and
Um,
fantasy becomes reality for a lot of people.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
definitely, we always encourage people to keep grinding and focusing on their dreams as well. Um,
And plus, there's always that dopamine you get in your head from hitting a nice shot or something like that, and I think that's as time has gone on, that's become a majority of my fun, which is in itself kind of sad, but
well, I mean, the thing about it is, though, is that I've said this from day one. You get, happiness in all forms, and if it's not hurting anybody and you're enjoying it, and especially now thanks to content creation, which we'll get into in just a minute here, but now thanks to content creation, I mean, you can bring that happiness to others as well.
right.
Um, so, what got you into Twitch? Before we go into the content creation yourself, like what brought you to the Twitch platform?
Well, funny enough, it was an accident at first.
Okay,
Um,
what am I doing?
I can't remember if it was on like, and maybe you can help me out with this. I don't know if it was PS3 or PS4. Did PS3 have Twitch on it, or was it just PS4? I can't quite remember offhand.
I mean,
Do you know?
PS3 was online, but I mean, I don't
There was
know.
no. I don't think Twitch was even a thing at that point. Okay, so it's probably like around the time of the first PS4 release or something. I would guess. And it's weird how it feels so recent, but it really wasn't. I can't remember exactly what I was playing. I believe it was a horror game, and I want to say it was Outlast. Could it have been that recent? Maybe. Um, I'd accidentally, don't even ask me how, I'd accidentally logged in to Twitch, and next thing I know, I have 10 people watching me, and I'm like, what is that? You're too loud. Why are you screaming? It's just a game. What? What? And then I just noticed I was live and people were watching, and I had this simultaneous feeling of embarrassment, but also like it felt really cool that someone was like, I don't know, making fun of my screaming. That was kind of I don't know. I wasn't even I liked it. And again, that was under a different name. That was under a PlayStation name, and yeah, I wouldn't say that's what got me. When I was, as I was saying, rebranding into that Fails and Luck thing. I'm like, oh, I gotta have a Twitch, gotta have a Twitch, and then that just sat there. That account just sat there on Twitch, like with nothing for like a year or two at least. Um, and then it came to the point where I'm just like, I was really passionate about trying to stream, and I guess, and then that wore off again, and now we're here.
Okay. Um, so you had kind of been familiar with Twitch for a while then.
To a degree. I hadn't uh for the first few years that I had Twitch, I hadn't watched anyone else. Truth be told, I hadn't. I just saw it as something for me to do selfishly. Well, I suppose you could call it selfish. I don't know.
No, I mean,
Perspective.
entertaining others. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I wasn't I didn't even know you could find other people on there. I was like I was like self in my own
I have
ego, whatever.
created a network. No, so when did you start to discover like other people, other content creators?
I would say in the past 3 years,
Okay.
I would say I've slowly been discovering people that I enjoy watching. Um, Even more so in the past two.
Do you remember who the first person you watched was?
Uh, Let me think. I can honestly say that I don't because I don't think it was someone that I just popped into and didn't really stick around for.
Okay.
Um, but the first person that I watched consistently, man, I'm not even sure if I can remember that. I don't even know if they stream anymore. Um, yeah, truth be told, I don't remember.
No,
I'd
that's
have
okay.
to look back. If they were still streaming, I'd be able to tell you, but
What was it like? Because you actually kind of have an interesting experience here where a lot of people, I would say the overwhelming majority of people, go from viewer to streamer. You went from streamer to viewer back to streamer. So, what was it like transitioning after you had streamed, a couple of times or whatever it was to go from that and then kind of get more into Twitch and viewing people and
um, I'll be entirely honest. I was very negative about it.
okay.
I was always very I was more critical of the way others were streaming than I was of myself, which is a bad mentality to have. Younger Fails was even more of an idiot, admittedly. Um, it was always just this feeling of envy. Was like, oh, I could do that, and if they were more popular, it was, and that level of envy, I think, can exist for anyone. Like people will watch other streamers and just sit there out of pure disgust and just say, why is this person popular,
Mhm.
right? But I digress. Yeah, it took me a while before I found people that I genuinely enjoyed watching um, consistently, or as consistent as I can be.
Okay.
So negative overall, unfortunately. But
When did it start to shift then to a more positive experience? Because I don't get that impression at all that you're like that now. So,
um, yeah, I wouldn't say I'm quite like that anymore. Um, I got a real sense of community officially when I first started watching someone named Mr. Fairbrother,
hmm.
and I was looking for like smaller streamers, but also someone who's streaming this game that had like just come out and I didn't have yet, and it was Sea of Thieves.
Okay.
Um, I know that's I know that's still kind of recent, but like I've got through transitions, okay? Um, I got this. He always made me laugh. He always gave me a sense of community because there were other people in there, which I wasn't used to, who were like wanting to chat with me, and we were like talking about our day, and that's when I discovered that was like the biggest part of, or most important part of streaming is that sense of community. Because otherwise, you're just staring at a man in a bunny suit or what have you. Um, but I will say, uh, it was short lived. Uh, as far as that goes, but it did inspire me to look for other people who I could get that same feeling from.
Okay. Well, no, I think that you bring up a phenomenal point, and that's that for anybody looking to get into content creation, it's the community that is the long-lasting part. I mean, your skills the older you get, they might depreciate. A game that you play, I mean, take Heroes of the Storm as an example, right? People were pro 1 minute, and then the next minute, Blizzard was like, "There's no more League." Um, stuff like that. The game can subside, your skills depreciate, um, popularity in a game might wane, but if you have a solid core base of a community, that's what keeps content creators going from different periods of their life. So I think that that's a great point, and that's honestly that's a very impressive takeaway that you got from it, because I think a lot of people focus solely on when they first come to Twitch. Even if it's a positive take, they focus solely on the streamer and not
Yeah.
necessarily see the aspects of the community going on. That's like, well, what does a streamer do that I can take away from things? Um, so with that being said, when did you come back to streaming after you lit Nolan?
Nolan and or no no. You know, that was a mouthful, wasn't it? People just try to read the whole thing and they're like, "This dude is not from America." Like, Nolan or no no.
Sounds like a Sacha Baron Cohen character.
Right. Absolutely. I would say in the past, just in the past few years, I guess. I don't know. I've never really been all that consistent. Again, there was that level of passion when I was really interested in, I don't know, the streamer American dream, where you're just like wanting to, they're like, and people take this mentality of, oh, it's just a grind. You just gotta grind now. Um, I guess I started streaming more consistently around the time of Overwatch, and I love to talk about that game. Oh yeah, who doesn't? Um, I guess around that time because I well, you know what, I won't talk more about Overwatch than I have to. I guess. Yeah, I guess around the time of Overwatch was I felt I was entertaining enough when it came to that game that I could grow an audience, and that was that. I don't know. Don't know what to say about that.
So, well, I think we don't have to talk about Overwatch if you don't want to.
I I'm more you know what? I'll do it.
No,
I'll
well,
do it.
it's more that instead of talking about in specific Overwatch, the focal point of that's when I wanted to kind of like grind the stream. What was it? You said that you had the streamer American Dream
Yeah.
back then. So what was it that you were trying to do then?
Well, I had a niche, right? I was more or less a one trick,
Okay.
and in in all reality, if you have a niche of some kind, something that sets you apart in any way, it would be easier for you to grow. But on the contrary, when that niche is passed, aka a game dying or you don't play that character anymore, it's kind of hard to maintain that audience that was there for that niche.
Right.
Um, but uh, now granted, I could always play other characters, but Junkrat was just it came naturally to me. Don't know why, it just did. Um, and I could tell you about more about like why I got into that character specifically, but I was watching, and you know what? I hate to draw out other streamer names when it comes to this stuff, but it would be kind of necessary for me to express what I'm trying to say. So if this is negative to those streamers, and for whatever reason they end up watching, I do apologize. But I remember watching PvP play Junkrat, and I'm just like that same feeling of envy. It's like I can do that. I can do that, and I can be way more entertaining. And I had this almost this grind mentality, but also in a negative connotation, where I'm was doing it. I was trying to do it despite him,
Okay.
which which isn't now that I'm looking back on it, it's not always the worst. Because it is a level, it's negative, but it is a sense of competition, kind of like the Beach Boys and the Beatles. He's just like, I'm gonna be better than this guy, so I gotta do my very best, right? And it made him money, so
Bar
didn't
and just
quite
starts
didn't.
playing in the background.
But yeah, that's when I started getting that grind mentality, and that's what made me want to do that was that level of competition, I guess.
And what kind of, because it sounds like things have changed a little bit, what kind of, what happened to change that?
I grew up a little. Plus, the game certainly has not maintained expectations, and I don't want to play anymore. Um, but now I guess now that I've realized that I don't have to do that to get people who would, like to come hang out with me, I don't feel so negatively about it. Like it's amazing to me that I didn't think of this sooner that I would be able to uh play music on stream and people would want to do that. I think it's kind of relieves some stress for me that I didn't know I had. Um, I don't know if I answered your question. I kind of lost track of my own
No, no, you're
statement
fine.
there.
But
Sorry.
it actually transitions nicely. So,
Okay.
so getting into the music side of things and something that you're far more passionate about than Overwatch, um, what got you started in music?
Funny story. It was my mother actually.
Okay.
When I was like 8 or 9, or perhaps I was a little younger than that. I would say I would say 8. I had a toy chest and no friends. And I don't know why it was in there. I don't know if it was like a hand-me-down or donation or whatever, but there was a little pink guitar in there. And it was like I don't know what it was supposed to do. I don't know if it was like one of those things. It had like real strings on it, but you couldn't actually play it.
Hmm.
Um and I remember someone was in her house that day and they're like, "Oh, we should take a picture of one with the pink guitar." And uh they're like, "Oh, do a fake go like this." I'm like, "Yay." And it's funny they got such a kick out of that, but almost jokingly, my mother's like, "Oh, we should get him guitar lessons." They didn't think I was going to stick with it for like 12 years, but I did cuz again, like, 9-year-old me or however old I was, didn't really have any friends or anything to do. Nothing better to do, no hobbies, obtaining a new hobby, and been there ever since.
Now, did you? Because I know you play acoustic on stream.
Yeah.
Um, was that what you originally started with? Was it acoustic guitar?
Um yeah, I started with acoustic guitar and I remember they uh they picked a name. My parents picked a name out of a list and they said cuz they just had names. They didn't have anyone's like profile picture or anything like that cuz it was, years ago. Just in a book and they said, "Oh, Brett." And Brett ended up being like my friend for like well, friend slash mentor for like 12 years and I he recommended me to go to the base to really build up my callus. And then after like months of that, he's like, "Okay, you're done." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, you can go back to guitar now. You've learned everything I could possibly teach you on the bass. Anything more than that would just be learned on guitar." Um, and you know, that's just how I learned for years until I got an electric. And then at that same place, they had like jam sessions, which uh, really got me to improve. Because when you're playing with other people who are better than you and worse than you, and you're jamming, you just get better naturally after that. And yeah, I was like an electric only kind of guy. I went through my goth phase of just uh, I don't know if you would consider Linkin Park or My Chemical Romance to be goth or emo or what have you. whatever you'd like to call that. But that was me for years. Green Day. Until in the past, I don't know, 7 years, I just fell in love with the tone. The pure tone you can get out of an acoustic is just so relaxing. It literally vibrates with you. It's just amazing.
Almost as relaxing as a green screen fireplace and a digital dog. Um, I'll
Almost.
don't worry. I'll have him explain that here soon enough. But um, with music and all that, were you ever in a band?
I was in several failed collaborations because I've always been, and over the years less so, but I've always been socially awkward.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem was in these groups that I was in, so was everyone else. So it was just like, who wants to take charge and say what songs we're gonna play? So what we ended up doing, and these were people I knew from like the jam sessions. Um, we just sat there for like 2 hours going, okay, what do you want to learn? I don't know. Check out this riff. And then that was pretty much the band experience for years. That was about it. We didn't really go anywhere, do anything. I think around the fourth or fifth time with a different group of friends. Um, Although I really couldn't even call them friends because I never really knew them that well. It was more like kids I knew from the sessions.
Yeah, just acquaintances.
Yeah, just like fourth or fifth time. And what was funny was it was different combinations of those people with other people. So it was kind of like didn't really fix anything. I around the fourth or fifth time I'd done it. I kind of had an idea. Um, and it was just always like no one wanted to take charge, but then when someone did, someone else would speak up, and then they'd be this argument of like, "Oh, I thought you didn't want to like lead this thing or whatever." And again, another failed group. But then in the past, I want to say 5 years, I've been in a few groups. Again, it's hard to maintain that sort of thing. Um, I was in a group with oh God, this guy named Connor, and we kind of just had a falling out, bit of a rock star argument, I guess. I don't know. Actually, it was more embarrassing than that. It was more like arguing what a measure was, which is probably the dumbest conversation I've ever had in my life. And what I've only realized after the fact was, oh shit, I'm an idiot. And it was like I felt so bad after that, but he felt bad too because he's like, I kind of snapped at you. I'm like, yeah. But I was also in a group with my guitar teacher, who's again, like I said, become my friend as well, and we played at country clubs, made some money that way before I'd actually gotten a job, and I spent, and that's where I would say I really started getting into the acoustic because at these venues you got to play quieter, especially if it's older folks at like a country club. You gotta know older songs, and you gotta play the acoustic. That's just how it is. Um, and I ended up loving it. Uh, Found some older songs, ended up getting into like genres I never thought I would, like years back, like Frank Sinatra and Nat King Cole, crooners, what have you.
Okay.
Started falling in love with the '70s, things that never would have happened had I not been forced to do it. um, yeah, sorry for the long explanation there, but
What? No, that's perfectly. No, that's
okay.
perfectly fine. No, 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 no. That never apologize for tangents or going, or telling a long story because you know that's I find that. Have you heard me talk? I am nothing but long-winded. Okay, which
Fair
is
enough.
surprising that I'd have the cardio to be long-winded. It's okay. Um, so with that being said, was there? I get the impression I could be wrong. I actually hope I'm wrong, but I get the impression that there was a point in time where you stopped playing guitar.
Um, I would say probably take a drink every time I say this, but the past few years, I would say that it's been more about video games for me than guitar because there's not this. commitment of like going to a place to like learn, and when it's on your own, trying to like convince yourself to like, because there's so many resources you can get for free online to like learn these days. But I would sadly I would say that I don't have the same passion for that stuff when I was younger. I never quit entirely, uh, but I don't actively practice. I just noodle. Although recently, I'm sure maybe you possibly saw, I got a new guitar,
Hmm.
and I've started falling in love with the electric again. And I've been trying to learn one of the first songs I ever wanted to learn, which was Cliffs of Dover. And if you haven't listened to that, go check it out. Cliffs of Dover, Eric Johnson is just, it's just like a long guitar solo. It's crazy. And I'm still finding myself struggling to be passionate about learning it. Unfortunately, it kind of like fluctuates. Um, but I would never stop entirely. I couldn't possibly.
I want to do this real quick while we shout out Fails and Luck.
Well, thank
You all should definitely, of course, always we talk about checking out the guest channels, but when he's playing music, one of the things that's really interesting is he has an actual link with an archive of listed songs that he can play from, and it's quite a bit. Um, I think it's very impressive, and I've definitely requested some songs. I would definitely request Never Gonna Give You Up if he had that as an option, but he's smarter than that. uh, so, with that being, or the Baby Shark song. Um, with that being said, though, it genuinely is very, very impressive, and I think that he should definitely be proud of that accomplishment because it wasn't what I was expecting. I thought it was going to be a handful of songs, maybe a dozen, and it was definitely a lot more than that. And with that being said, that kind of brings me into another question. Singing. Are you self taught? Did you take lessons? Did you do singing in the bands?
you. Similar to the pink guitar story, it's kind of embarrassing how it came to be, how it got into like you'll see what I'm saying. How it's a very similar situation. I was at one of those jam sessions again. No one sang. No one at that point. We were all like young kids, maybe like 13, 14, who knows. Um, no, probably younger than that. But at one of the jam sessions, right before it started, my guitar teacher slash mentor friend, whatever, Brett, he's like, hey, one thing you should try and practice, and I gotta remember to do this more often. When you're trying to do a solo, think of the notes you want your guitar to play, and then play it, or hum it, or sing it. Just go da 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 da, right? And you'll see some people do this. I can't remember this lady's name, but she's very talented, and she'll do exactly that. She'll try to come up with a riff vocally, and then she'll try and do it on guitar. Now, granted, everything was so loud. Everything was so loud. No one had earplugs. No one gave a shit. And what is it? I was trying to do that technique where you do it out loud. They thought because they couldn't hear me that I was trying to sing. They're like everybody stop the music. Nolan wants to sing. I'm like, no, I wasn't singing, and I didn't even get a chance to say a word. They put a mic in front of me, and I'm like, oh my god. Now, granted, there's only maybe like 20, 30 people in this entire place, not a big group, but I'd never sang in front of anyone. I don't even know if at that time I knew how to sing at all. I was afraid what was gonna come out was just a bunch of growling. I don't know. Um, but they had told me after that, they're like, that wasn't terrible. I'm like, damn, okay. How would you like to take a few lessons for free with Chris? I'm like, okay, sure. Unfortunately, he ended up turning me down because I was at a point where my voice was still developing, and you don't want to take vocal lessons, arguably, when you're 13, because of the vocal cracking and all that. Um, so he actually turned me down. He said, "You know what? Wait a year. We'll try again." And then from like 14 on, for like I don't know, I want to say 5 years. Ended up learning from him how to sing. And what I realize now is that he was not the best teacher. He was in fact looking up on YouTube in between lessons to try and figure out what to teach. He knew how to sing, he just didn't know how to teach.
Okay.
Um, and so after like he ended up, don't even ask me what that dude was up to, but like he ended up cutting off our lessons because he like moved, took his kids, and then went to live in the Westboro Baptist Church out of the blue. Um, so I don't know what that dude was up to or why suddenly. It's funny. He always reminded me of Robin Williams, the way he was teaching. Like he was just that kind of. He kind of looked like him, kind of spoke like him. I was just. It wasn't him, but and ever since I'd stopped lessons with those, I kind of had to learn on my own. I had to develop on my own, just remembering what he taught me. He only had like one binder full of information, but I've lost so many pages. But so in the past few years, it's more been self-taught, trying to use what resources I can.
Okay. If it makes you feel any better, I had a guitar teacher at one point. After I lost um, my first guitar teacher had health problems, so I had to find another one. And the one that I found immediately after that, he was awesome, but he went MIA after like 3 weeks. And then the
Dang.
dude that was followed by that person, he he didn't know what guitar tab was. Uh,
Oh, that's
tablature. Yeah. So
just didn't know.
yeah, didn't know. So he actually like was printing off like guitar tab sheets and like trying to like read them, and he didn't know where what string represented what. Yeah, yeah. It was. Anyways, didn't last long with that guy when I found that out. So I ended up finding one that was really awesome, but he ended up moving to be a producer last I checked. So I think he moved. This was when I lived in Indy, and he moved to. Where did he move to? Atlanta, I think, something like that. A cool dude. I was in a death metal band.
Death metal, right?
Yeah, it was really cool. Oh, he was an insane guitarist, and he was a really good teacher too. But if it makes you feel any better, yes, I think a lot of us have had those experiences. Um, so with with combining these two, what made you decide to do this on stream?
Um, what did make me decide to do that on stream? That's a good question. Uh, when I was in that grind of Overwatch and trying to do that, in between in the queues, I would get so bored that I would just start plugging in my guitar or just, jamming. And at one point, I was so bored that I just wrote a song about playing Torb because I was brain dead and tired, and I'm just like, gonna play some Torb. Just bored. And then people started enjoying the little things I was doing with guitar, and then so I'm like, you know what? I should just do this in queue every time. It relaxes me, takes some of the stress off. People like it. Let's do it. And then pretty you know, years later ended up doing a year later. I have no concept of time right now. As far as that transition from Overwatch, Overwatch just feels like a fever dream at this point that I can't forget.
Like a time sink?
It's hard to forget because it was 5 years of my life. It is hard to forget that. Like I'll never forget the moments, but I'll never forget the nightmare. Positive and the negative. Anyway, yeah, I would say that pretty much sums it up pretty well. Is how um pretty soon it ended up being just guitar. Because oh, there's another half to that. I'm sorry. Oh, it just spilled all over my desk. Um, I'd noticed that gaming is ridiculously saturated, and Twitch in itself is just ridiculously saturated. Music was pretty much free. It was something that I was able to do. Once again, you talked about niches, right? That not, of course, I've now realized that, there's a certain level of saturation in itself because you have just a ton of DJs. We're just like, yo, dude, I didn't make this beat. Check this out. Just there's a million of those, and there's a million, lo-fi beats to jag off. I don't know, just lo-fi beats to study to, what have you. It's still there's still a level of saturation. Um, but the sense of community in the music section, I would say, is a little better. Um, People are just nicer.
Now, have you, with in terms of content creation, um, have you found it easier to? You said it was people are nicer, but have you found it easier to connect with and reach out to other musicians on
Um,
Twitch?
Not in a sense of like networking, you know what I mean, like in a business way, or even as off-stream collaboration thing like that. No, I wouldn't say, but also yeah, because every once in a while you'll pop into a music stream. They'll be like, oh, what do you do? If you, especially if you raid them and you're coming for a game, they'll be like, wait, why is this guy doing? Um, they'll be like, oh, I'll have to check you out, and then most times when that happens, especially in gaming, they will not check you out. You'll never see them again. I'm sorry to say I've done that as well. I can't always check out the person rating. Like I can look, but I can't guarantee that I'm gonna like be a consistent follower of that individual, especially if I don't like their content.
Right.
I won't sugarcoat it. Um, but I've had so many amazing music streamers come and raid me, uh, and music streamers that I've rated that have wanted to come back and check my content and request a few songs. And so to answer your question, I would say it has been easier in that sense. There's a more of a sense of community compared to gamers who just hate themselves and everyone around them.
um, what going forward? Do you think you're going to go more into music, or do you think you're going to keep it more variety? Or
It might even it might even be more gaming
okay,
than music. Um, at first I was just doing music sporadically whenever I felt in the mood to do it, but then I tried to make it into a schedule, and I found that kind of stole some of my fun right out of it. It was some days I would wake up and I would say I do not feel like singing today. So it might, going forward, I might even take the schedule down altogether and just stream when I'm feeling better, because nothing's worse than when you're just in a bad mood and you're basically at work, even though it's a hobby. It becomes work at that point. So maybe less music. Um, Only time will tell.
do you still hold on to wanting to do it full time if the opportunity ever arose?
Gosh, I don't know if I would ever do music full time. Streaming, um, gaming, I don't think I could see myself doing it full time either. Because I'm more negative in that regard, where I see the downside of it. Uh, but I don't know. If it, I can't honestly say I know what I would do in that situation. I just don't think that it would come up organically. So I don't have an answer.
Okay. Well, and I would always say too, looking at it from this perspective, I do think that a lot of people severely underestimate the hours that go into content creation. I mean, I would say, I've said this before and I'll say it again, I would say 60 to 80 hours a week is probably what full-time content creators put into their stuff after they're done making, or after they're done streaming, then they go to the VODs to edit and
Yep.
grab highlights and stuff, and then they're networking, and then they're trying to sift through hundreds of emails
Oh
to
yeah.
see if there's any advertising deals that they want. There's a lot that goes into it. With that being said, if you look at it from the standpoint of Twitch is your employer, which they're not, but if you look at it from that standpoint, it does become, I think, a very arduous tenure. If you
Absolutely.
look at it from the standpoint of it's a small business, I don't necessarily say that that makes it more manageable, but that makes it more realistic of how you view it. And when you realize what owning a small business in and outside of Twitch would be, I mean, if you owned your own restaurant, for instance, you know,
Yeah.
it would, I mean, you realize all the hours and things that you have to factor in. So I think that keeping that stuff in mind always puts things in perspective a lot easier for people. With that being said, what are your future plans for content creation?
Uh, I'm not honestly too sure. I know that when Battlefield comes out, that is gonna be like my main game for like a long time. I probably won't play much else at that point. Because I know it's a game that I'm going to enjoy very much. And some people, and I know you were talking about this on one of your previous podcasts, that, you have to have a main game. I would say yes and no. It depends on the person, depends on factor of RNG, if you want to call it that. But I would argue that, yeah, having something to be known for in any regard could just be as simple as that's the game that he plays, you know? But you don't want to burn out. That's the other thing. So you could play that game like, 6 days a week or whatever, and then one day you do variety. You can't burn out. It's so easy to do. So in the future, I'm probably going to be playing a lot of that. Maybe I wanna try to do more community stuff. I suck when it comes to community building things like that. I'm just, in all reality, just socially awkward and don't take initiative when I should. And at the end of the day, it is just a hobby for me. I enjoy it when I enjoy it, but it is just a hobby, so it's hard to do that stuff. As far as music goes, I would really want to get some kind of live stream going where, like a quad stream thing, where someone else is playing another instrument or something, or another musician where we're jamming live. I think that would be so fun to have multiple people jamming. Of course, there would be kind of a some lag maybe if we did it through Discord, but I think that'd be really cool to do. Um, I really want to. I might get into some more recording stuff because I've been trying my best to learn that stuff. I don't know. I'm really not sure what the future holds there. At the end of the day, they're all just hobbies. Very passionate hobbies, but hobbies.
What is it that you want to get into career wise then?
I don't even know if I have an answer for that. I think my dream job would be to ghostwrite for a singer. I think that
Okay.
would be my dream job, to sit back, collect that small percentage of royalties for a song that I wrote, which is no longer mine. Because I feel like if there's ever one thing in music that I've I've been a standout for compared to other people, or at least the people that I knew and things like that, is I can write songs very well. I've never been the most amazing guitar player or the best singer or whatever, but songwriting, it just comes naturally for me. I can do that. That would be my dream job. I would never want to be in a group on tour. I would never want to. I don't like that idea of fame. I guess. I see it very negative. I'm at heart, I would say, uh, more negative than anything. So I see the aspect of, you're on tour, you know,
That burnout.
uh, well, you're on a tour bus forever. you're bored, you're stuck on the road. Like, yeah, maybe you have a computer in there or something, but you're bored. And then there's this fear in the back of the mind that, oh God, I mess up one thing. I mess up one thing. They'll never let me forget it. What was it? Barbara Streisand forgot the words to her own song or something and stopped. And she just stopped touring for, what was it, 10 years or something. I heard something like that. And there's always that pressure of now that you're famous, you say something stupid, they're not gonna let that go. Um, but yeah, I guess my dream job would be to ghostwrite for someone else, collaborate in that regard.
Okay. No, that honestly sounds like a very, I mean, so songwriter. You know, just
Yeah,
I wouldn't even say a ghostwriter. You'd just be a songwriter.
sure.
Um, no, I mean, that sounds awesome, actually.
I've never been much for teaching. Like I can't even teach myself. So I could maybe teach someone to a degree, but if they ask me like they're like, hey, teach me to play Fire Through the Flame or whatever, it's something. You get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
Just
well, to be
yeah,
fair, I forget the guitarist's name, but he can't even play that live half the time. Um, and then
good
he,
reason.
what?
For
Oh,
good reason,
oh yeah. And then he says that he gets drunk, and that's why he can't play it, though. That's his reasoning. Um, okay. Well, I think with that being said, I think we'll move on to the Q&A, if you're cool with that. Okay. So if anybody in chat has any questions um, for Fails, Nolan, just go ahead and post them. We always try to keep it TOS friendly, of course. You know, memes are welcome, but we always try to keep it, respectful as much as we can.
I will say that I saw in previous podcasts how easy it was for you guys to like slip into Overwatch, and I'm like, oh God, no, it could go on the entire way. I gotta like, I gotta say something. Like again, I'd be without remiss to like not acknowledge that so much of my FPS ability and transition was from that, and again, like I'll just bring up the connection. I went from, as I mentioned, superhero games to Overwatch, and it was literally on a coin flip. I said I need a new game. Heads Overwatch, tails can't remember the other game. Ended up being Overwatch. Um, and the first character I noticed was Genji because he was like a superhero, climb up walls, no you. It was cool. That's and that was that bridge connection there. Was you get to feel like a superhero.
Did you? So while we're waiting on see if anyone in chat has any questions,
Yeah.
um, I have a couple. Initially, did you
Yeah.
enjoy Overwatch?
Oh my God, did I ever? It was like it was a brand new experience. I'm like, wow, I get to be a superhero, but with other people. This is so cool. Whoa, this ability is so cool. No you, no you, no you, no you. Yeah, I thought it was the coolest thing ever, and slowly over time, it just makes you jaded. Um, and I ended up switching to Junkrat because like Genji's ult was like 120 damage, and I started getting into it to where I look up the stats. I'm like, oh, well, this guy can do 120 damage with just one primary shot. I should learn this guy. Found out that I'm really good at him. Junkrat main ever since.
Oh, if Overwatch 2 comes out, do you
I'll be
think
there.
you think you'll give it a shot? Yeah, okay, okay.
I'll be there. Unfortunately, it's yeah. I'll give it another chance at that point. And it's funny. It would be so easy for me to slip back into it and back into that game because there's always that idea of, oh, maybe if I go back and make this my main game, it's something I can actually do well. Maybe what people would want to come and see. But in all reality, 90% of Twitch is people streaming with a one viewer count, clogging everything up. Can't find you.
Yeah. No, I definitely I definitely agree with that, and I've said this in private, but I can say it out loud too. Um, I think some content creators for Overwatch are going to have a rude awakening when Overwatch 2 comes out because if certain people come back to it, they're going to start taking that audience back.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, Tim the Tap Man, just what is it, Moon, the Fran.
yeah, well, I mean, if Aimbot Calvin came back, right?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, gone.
So definitely one of those things where I hope that the people who have made it continue to make it because some of them are people that I would definitely consider friends. But I think they underestimate that they climbed in part because um
Everyone else left.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
sad but true.
one of your community stopped in to say hi.
Oh, good. Who got in there?
Zion.
Zion. How you doing,
So
Zion?
um but yeah, once again, if anybody has any questions, let us know. Try to get some questions in there for the Q&A. Um you just follow the list, did you?
No, that's physically impossible. But knowing me, I'd find a way. No, it was just really powdery at the end.
Oh. Oh, what is that? Is that gamer supplements or
It's G Fuel.
oh, okay.
You know what? I was, I was, I said, oh, G Fuel sucks. I mean to Pat and everything, but you know what? I find that the energy lasts a little longer than coffee for me, arguably. But I gotta take two of them, and then there's that whole, oh, there's lead in it. Well, and then I found out that there's lead in literally all vegetables and anything that comes out of the ground because of anyway.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Our soil sucks. Um
America soil.
yeah. Oh, it's not just even America. It's an epidemic everywhere and it's also magnesium deficient and all sorts of other stuff.
Ugh,
Um
sound good.
excuse me. So, another question I have is what got you started into horror games cuz you seem to be a fan
Ooh,
of them.
oh man. So, I would say Outlast got me into horror games, and just that, I guess you could relate it to dopamine because that's like it's funny how many people are memeing about dopamine now that they've realized it's a chemical, like that it exists and makes up like 90% of our life. It was just that feeling of happiness when people came in to see me that first time when I was streaming by accident. Um, and I find that if I could play more horror games than anything, I would, because when you're playing a shooter, it's really hard to sort of commentate and narrate what you're doing. It feels very forced, at least for me. Although I would say I generally overreact to most things, so that's arguably helpful. Um, but in horror games, it's just excitement for everyone. Um, so if I could set a part of the week where I would just play horror games and people would actually want to see that, I would do it. Um, because there's nothing. It's one thing to watch a horror movie. It's another thing entirely to be there, especially if you got VR. Whew, too much. Like I said, Resident Evil 7 in VR is an experience, a religious experience. It hurts. You can know what's gonna happen. You can play the game multiple times. You play that in VR. I literally paid $500. I'm not kidding. $500 to play just Skyrim and Resident Evil 7 on PSVR. Worth. Worth.
It's awesome. So Catalator wants to ask a question. What is the best horror
Okay.
game of all time?
Best horror game of all time? Oh man, I can't. I couldn't possibly pick one for first place. I could give you a tier list. No, I couldn't even do a tier list. I could give you like a top three or five. in no particular order.
Okay, do
Does that
do
work?
top three. Do top three.
Okay, top three. Okay, I would say I'd have to put. I don't. Okay, I can't give it to any specific Outlast, but one of the Outlast games has to be in that top three. Just has to be. Um, Resident Evil 7 just gives me an experience like no other, so I gotta give it there. And if I had to pick a third one, I would say it's between Dead Space 1 and Dead Space 2. I want to say
Okay.
Dead Space 1. That, especially that first time you play it. Um, played so many horror games now that I think about it. Yeah, I could live with that list for now.
Okay. Yeah, I love Dead Space. We pretend the third one didn't happen. Um,
Haven't even finished it.
yeah, it just didn't compare to the first two. Um, I think the first one's the best. Just because I think the second one focused from a horror standpoint, it focused more on action. It's kind of the aliens paradigm, right? Where the first Alien was all about the horror element, and then Aliens was more about the action, run and gun.
Isolation was fantastic, by the way. That would be in the
Yeah,
top five for sure.
yeah. Isolation was really good. Um, do you watch horror movies at all?
Um, Less so. I gotta be in the mood. But if I'm with friends, I always suggest a horror movie. But yeah, I've seen quite a nice chunk of them. Not
Okay,
as many as some other people, but
so I made a tweet about it, but I stand by it. Caveat:
yeah, I saw you mentioning that. You it was on Netflix or
it's on Shutter,
oh Shutter. Okay.
but you can get Shutter for fun. No, seriously, if you're a horror fan, Shutter is like it's way worth.
I saw that they had something with oh god, what is his name? Clancy Brown or
Hmm.
something. I forget the name of that show, but that looked really cool.
The Mortuary Collection.
Yeah, that looked awesome.
Yeah, yeah, he plays the Undertaker in it. Um, it's definitely worth if you're a horror fan to get Shudder. But no, Caveat was amazing. I was very pleasantly surprised. Um, and I would definitely recommend it to anybody looking to watch a horror film. Um, with any other questions? Wait just a moment for people to. There's a delay.
I've seen so many more horror films now that I had gotten really into that one YouTube channel, Dead Meat, where
Yes.
they go through the kills. That started like that like transition from me from like oh god I can't touch it, it's too scary, to oh god yeah, yeah, more kills.
What was it? It's so they're the two that I always watch are Ending Explain and Kill Count. Yeah,
Yeah.
Dead Meat. Um oh. I loved for a while their little intro was the garbage day. It's garbage day. Like they if you all don't know,
That's
that's
why.
one of the greatest memes from a awful movie. Awful movie. Um that and that ranks up there with the bad horror memes. That ranks up there with was it? And they're eating her, and
Ah,
then they're gonna eat me.
wasn't it
No.
called Trolls or something
Yep, it
or
was Trolls. Yep, Trolls 2, I think it was. It was the
uh
sequel to the film.
yeah.
It was a sequel. Um,
It's also that one where like the kid's spinning in a circle and it just goes on for a while. He's just like, "Oh man, oh god, oh man, oh man, oh god," and it's just spinning, spinning, spinning. I forget what movie that one was from. I think that was like Goosebumps or something. Probably not.
um, the I can't remember the actor's name, but the guy who does the oh my god,
Yeah,
he I think he became a doctor or a dentist. Something. Well, I mean, a dentist is a doctor, but I mean,
something boring.
yeah. But yeah, that was like his one and only thing. But okay, well, looks like I guess we will go ahead and wrap things up. Um, so as always, if the guest is not going to stream, and I think you said you haven't decided whether you're going to or not.
Am not too sure.
Okay. So with that being said, if the guest is not going to stream, we will let them pick who we raid.
Oh. Ooh, the power. Let me see. Let's see. Oh my goodness. So few people I know are actually online. Well, let me ask you this. Does it matter what they're streaming?
Nope.
Okay. Oh man, that's tough. That is tough. Uh, why don't we raid Slaughter Reborn? He's a streamer I've been watching. He's been mostly gaming,
Okay.
playing Valorant right now. How does that sound?
Is it spelled how it sounds?
Yeah, Slaughter Reborn.
Is that the right person
I
on the show?
cannot see. Oh, I actually don't have your stream open at the moment. Let me. Yeah, that would be the guy.
Okay. All right, everybody. As always, thank you for making it to the podcast. We appreciate it. So thank you so much. And of course, this will be up in the VODs for a while. If you missed the very beginning of it or middle, definitely come back and check it out. And then it'll be up on YouTube uh, next weekend. So thank you all so much again. You all were wonderful. Appreciate you being out here. And with that being said, I want to thank again the wonderful guest, FailsAndLuck. Uh, sorry, buddy. No, Fails and Luck. Thank you all so much again. And we should have baby Poro coming up sometime. She got unfortunately came down with an ailment, so wishing her a speedy recovery, and hopefully she can join us in the future. With that being said, thank you all so much once again.
Thank you,
Love you
Yanni.
all, and we will catch you all next time. So until then, bye everybody. Right before I ended, friggin' Vidiot or Anonymous. I don't know